Wow. All right. I have to tell you, every time I come to the Titanium meeting, I'm always amazed at the people I get to sit around the table with. My name is Mike Crow.
It's a pretty good group with a couple of exceptions.
It's a pretty good group. Well, as they used to say, we always try to make sure we have one real slow learner that has lots of money. Yeah, okay.
Well, you always want one slow student in the group because it makes everybody else feel so much better.
Right. So I used to fill that role.
Looking for the weak player?
Yeah.
If you look around the table and don't see it, you're it.
Oh, goodness gracious. I started out in the grocery business years ago. I spent 13 years in the grocery business, retail industry, understanding it backwards and forwards, sideways. Had kind of planned on being there for life. Then that, quite honestly, the whole grocery industry I realized was going south. That was before Walmart got into it, and since then it's gone even more into discounting and everything. One of the things that I realized was I needed to, instead of investing my time into other things and other places, I needed to invest in myself. And so I started looking around and had a couple of life-threatening situations where we thought we might even lose my wife and my youngest daughter at one point. That turned out well, fortunately for us. But I started investing in myself more, and I started searching out for everything. And what I found was people like Jay Abraham and Michael Gerber and Joe Polish. And then I went to one of Joe Polish's event, and I saw Dan speaking. But that took me back even further, back into the 90s. And I was sitting there with two of my kids at the time. I now have four, two of my kids and my wife. And we're at one of these Peter Lowe success seminars, and we had paid to hear Emmett Smith speak and a bunch of people. And just as we're getting ready to leave, a man walks on stage and says, "By the way, if you leave right now, you're just going to be stuck in traffic. You might as well just sit here and hear what I got to say, because I'm going to help you make money." So I sat back down, and I went, "Okay." He was good. "Honey, ready to leave?" And she said, "We got to go get his stuff." My wife doesn't buy anything. In fact, she was upset the fact that we decided to go to this thing that day. So we promptly went back to get it, and she studied your stuff more than I did even at that time, and we did some pretty cool things with it. When I started reinvesting in myself, me and my dad actually used to help people buy and sell real estate, Ron. Believe it or not, my dad was one of those first guys that used to invest in real estate, and we actually had our own club in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and everything. And that's where we discovered home inspections. And I'm a big believer in what I call the wave effect. And I saw home inspections was going to get big, and I wanted to make sure that I got in on it. So we got in on it, and it almost killed us because nobody understood who or what a home inspector was. And so we started working on it. I went back to looking at some of the different pieces of what we were doing, and I started integrating. One of the biggest things I learned was taking ideas from other industries and moving them into our industry. If there's one huge secret anybody gets off of what we're doing here today or listening to these, is that you take one idea from one industry and move it into another. So when I hear Bill Goff speaking about insurance agents and something he does, I go, wow, we can move that into home inspections. And I hear Tom Arendt talking about something that Dennis does, I go, man, we can do that. So whereas the average home inspector out there was making about $100,000 a year, and that's if they were really good, they were making $100,000 a year. We did $1.79 million in the last year I was there. And it was kind of unusual. We're one of the top 3 largest home inspection companies across the nation. And so we started doing other things. Sold that company for over $1 million, which was great. It's nice to take the $1 million, but then what are you going to do? And I worked for them for 3 years inside a corporate environment. That was a lot of fun, right, Bill? Being inside a corporate environment where they get to tell you what to do, what not to do, where to go, where not to go.
It's especially fun after a sale when you've taken $1 million.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, it's a ball.
Yeah. And when I joined them, they didn't have any $1 million areas. After I left, they had like at least 3, maybe $4 million areas, but I got like 0 credit for that, and that was always fun as well.
By the way, it's even less fun after you've taken 20.
Yeah, I bet so. I bet so. So anyway, we started figuring out what we wanted to do, and I went over a lot of things, and my wife came back into the picture again, and she said, "Why don't you go teach people how to go do what you did?" And I went, wow. The fact that she had that much faith in me, it touched me, and we actually started it, and At that point, one of the things that I had done was started incorporating my kids into my business. When they turn 12, we pull them into the business. And quite honestly, one of the secrets of my success, you'll find, is Krista, my daughter, and the fact that we get to work side by side on everything we do. Because what I find, most people, they don't have that implementer. But more on that later. So we created what we call the Millionaire Inspector community. And everybody laughed. In fact, one guy out on the forum said, I think I'll wait for the Billionaire Inspector community. Bless his heart. And so, anyway, a lot of people laughed, and it's one of your favorite headlines. A lot of people laughed, but when I handed out 6 trophies last year to other million-dollar companies that walked across my stage, not very many people were laughing. In fact, a lot of people were clapping and going, wow, that's so incredible. And we'll hand out 5 new ones next year at our event. So that's always good stuff as well. What happened was now people start asking me, Mike, how do you do what you do? How do you sustain a coaching program? How did you create, and quite honestly, we run a $1 million coaching program in a small niche, home inspectors. And it's because of the way we set up retention. And quite honestly, it's also by helping people help themselves. It's what I live and die on, helping people help themselves. And so people want to stay around us for a long time. What we realized was a lot of coaches and other people that wanted to coach that were experts didn't really have some of the pieces we had. They didn't understand continuity or residual income or passive income or how to make sure that the money comes in every single month. They're always going out there and selling. So we created kind of Coach Blueprint, and so we've become kind of a continuity coach, and we've become kind of a content coach, where we're allowing other coaches to use our content. If you're interested in looking at some of the stuff we do for the home inspectors, go look at homeinspectorblueprint.com. That's our sales page to allow home inspectors to find out what we do. If you're interested in seeing more of that, you can look at mikecrownow.com. And if you want to kind of see, and we even did put a free report out there 6+ years ago, because I quite honestly kind of got tired of answering questions at that time. We put a free report out at coachblueprint.com that kind of explains some of the continuity and different things. And Dan, I will tell you, I don't think I've ever missed an Info Summit. Been part of this for 10+ years. Still remember the day that you spoke on Joe Paulus's stage and still said, how many of you got my product? And like 75% of the room raised their hand and said, well, I think I'm done speaking here. And I came up to you afterwards.
I did shave off half an hour.
Yeah. And of course, you were selling magnetic marketing, which I already owned from the 90s. And I went out to you and I said, what do I need to do to be a coach like Joe or like you and a speaker? And you said, well, we got this program. It's very simple. It's coaching and consulting. And immediately went and bought it. I still have that on my shelf, and it still was the cornerstone of a lot of things we did. By the way, it was still on cassette tape back then as well.
By the way, the lesson in that is the best answer to every question is something you sell.
Yeah.
That's
and of course, I bought it. And at the time, I went, he wants how much for that? But I've learned
you can jump in.
I've learned not to ask how much. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know what you just said, Mike. I've been sitting here listening. This is Ron LeGrand, by the way. For all these years I've been teaching people buying and selling real estate, I've got a growing list of people who net over $1 million a year. It had never even occurred to me to start a $1 million award club and give them something for that achievement level until you just said it.
Well, and somebody asked me why I'm wearing this Walt Disney pin, and it's the year of Disney, but I'm going to start creating pins for my guys to wear. And you're going to see that happen at our next event and start seeing some of that. But thank you for mentioning that, Ron, because I have nothing but the highest regards. By the way, we bought probably all of your stuff at one point or another, speaking and selling from the stage. And did you notice how the answer, Dan, was, I have something else to say?
Yeah. And by the way, if you really do have all of it, we can make more.
Yeah. One last little secret is I've always been looking at creating the next generation. It's why I bring my daughter to these meetings. It's why she's incorporated in it. And at some point, she'll be creating, in fact, she already is creating her own products and everything else, and we'll just be moving the business to the next generation. And I look around the table here, I see several people that have, their children with them. And it's so cool seeing the whole next generation, Dan, that you're leading down the path to, quite honestly, freedom and wealth. And I want to tell you thank you for that.
Thank you.